Hello, Stitchy friends. Today is February the 8th, and I haven't seen you for a week, so today we're going to catch up a little bit. I mentioned last time that I would have my whip code numbers for this month, and my numbers are number 7 and number 8. Those are towards the top of our board. Don't help us much with a bingo, but there's projects that I haven't touched in a long time, so I'm anxious to work on them. I haven't started working on them yet. I did get them out and get them ready though. The first one is Steampunk Bee, and I just love the way this looks. I never really was, I don't know that I wasn't into it, but I wasn't really aware a lot of what steampunk looked like, and I'm just absolutely fascinated by how it looks. And this one actually has what looks like a clock in the middle. And originally I thought, oh, it's actually a clock, so it's got to be huge, but it's not. It's actually stitched there. And so I have a start on that one, and that's what I will be continuing. Let's see if I can show it to you here. I have all of that center part of the clock done and backstitched because I just wanted to see how it looked once it was backstitched. Where I left it was working on the antennae up at the top, right around here. And so that's where I will continue. I need to do 400 stitches on it. And so that should be fairly easy to do. Put me well on the way to completing my February WIPCO. But I haven't touched this in several months, so I'm anxious to do it. It's very easy to do. This particular Aida, it is 2/1 14 count. This particular Aida is very stiff. I did not wash it before I started using it, but it is very stiff. And actually, as far as stitching, it makes it very easy because I like very taut fabric when I stitch. If it's loose, I don't like it as much, and that's one reason I don't like stitching in hand. But this is very stiff. It doesn't enjoy being in the Q-snap, but once it's in there, it makes it a joy to work on. I am enjoying it. I'm anxious to see it when it's done so that I can get it to be a fully finished project. That's for number 7. For number 8, I have Spread the Love, and this one I just barely have a start on. This is from Cross Stitcher magazine, September of last year, 2024, and I just loved the way it looked. I thought it would be a fantastic addition in a kitchen. I had just a tiny start on it, and I'll tell you about that in a second. This is also 14 count, yes, 14 count Aida, 2/1. And one thing I loved about it was the colors. I mean, this array of colors is just so bright and cheery. It was one of those things, and I just fall in love with some of the colors on these projects, and this is one of them. So what I did for a very small start was the very beginning of the first jar. But in working on it, I found that afterwards, I had done something weird right in the very center of it. The stitches looked really funky. They're kind of twisted or something. I'm not sure exactly what, but I decided, I'm going to frog out that center and do that over again. So basically, except for the lid part here, I'm restarting it. Now, I've had this in my project bag since September of last year to work on. And because I knew I was going to be frogging this part, I haven't gotten it out just because I wasn't in the mood to be doing some frogging, basically. So I was procrastinating, putting off doing that. So because it showed up as number 8 on my WIPCO board, I thought, okay, now's the time. Unfortunately, what I didn't know was that my project bag had a marker that was left in it, and that marker's lid had come off. And the Aida worked just like a wick and sucked the ink right out of that marker onto my Aida, onto my fabric. It is permanent ink, And I measured to see if maybe it didn't come as far over as, and that I would be able to cover it with stitching. But unfortunately, on this particular project, there's a lot of just open white space. And this right here is going to be in the open white space. So I did have another piece of fabric, and I went ahead and cut a new piece of fabric. And so, especially since I had such a small start on this, I'm going to go ahead and just start it completely on the new fabric. I will eventually frog this out and cut it here to get that inked part, that wicked part out, and I'll use this for some other project. So it won't go to waste except for that one corner, and I'm not wasting a whole lot of time that I put into it because, as I said, I have just this very small start. There's maybe 100 stitches there. I don't even think there's that many. But I will start it again, and that will be for number 8 on my Whipco board. And I need to do 2 hours of work on it, and that will probably give me a good start. Hopefully I'll get down into that first jar of plum jam, start working with some of these gorgeous colors. But if anything, it tells you, don't leave a marker in your project bag. And I normally don't, and somehow missed it. And it's been wicking ink on there for the last 6 months or so. Okay, so that's the Whipco for this month. The next thing I'll talk about is the temperature board. I did finish January, and I'm up to date as far as the 5th of February. And as I'm doing it, I'm really disappointed because I know all of my colors are so close together because it's this ombre effect. If your colors change normally with the seasons, you'll get that effect. And I mean, as you can see, it almost looks like all the same stuff. And I put black work in between to give it a little bit of variety. I did finish the medallions in the center, but I've been thinking I really want to have more interest in how it looks. So what I think I might do, and I'm seriously considering, is everywhere that, because I was alternating with black work, everywhere that I have a black work block, I am going to frog that out so that every other day I've been using the high temp. I will put the high temp. The next day I will use the low temp and alternate back and forth like that. Now it's not going to be that beautiful ombre look that I've seen on the example for it because they're going to be vastly different, but it's going to be enough color changes to give it some interest, because to me this is not interesting when it doesn't change that much. So next time you see it, hopefully it shouldn't be that much work because I'm not that far into it. We're only a month into it. I should have the black work parts frogged and new colors put in there, and I'll show you how it looks, and we'll see if maybe that works. I'm interested to see what you think, if you think that would be a good idea too, because I'm trying to think of something to give it more interest. And I thought, well, how about if every other day I use the low temp rather than the high temp? So basically it's going to have some blue and purples in here between the oranges because that's the colors that my temperatures are assigned to. The other thing is with this, and one of the ladies that watches the channel actually mentioned to me, and it turned out it was a wonderful idea. She was saying that she likes to wait a week for hers and do 1 week at a time, that it's easier for her to do. And I think that's what I started doing the end of January and the beginning of February. I wait a week and then I do that week's worth of blocks, which is still not a lot of stitching because these are not big blocks. But it makes it a lot easier to work on. It's not like I pick it up for 5 minutes and I'm putting it down. That, to me, it just feels like a waste of my time. So I'm doing a week at a time, And I think it's going to work out really well. And I'm very thankful for that suggestion from one of my watchers. And that is the temperature chart. And finally, we'll have some progress on the Heaven and Earth Designs 2025 SAL. I had made a goal for myself personally to try, because this first section is right around 30,000 stitches, to have 10,000 stitches done for each month. Well, for January, I did not meet that goal. I got close though. Today is the 8th, and yesterday I hit 10,000 stitches. So I'm right at about 10,200 stitches right now. So I'm about a week behind, but hopefully in the month of February, especially since it's a shorter month, I can catch up with that and be at 20,000 stitches. Yes, at 20,000 stitches, because I'm currently at 10,000. So hopefully that will get me to my 20,000 stitches by the end of February. That's just a personal goal for me, so that I can hopefully have it all done, get the 6 pages done before the end of the year. I think it's starting to look somewhat like the picture itself. I have a section over here that's under my Q-snap that's not completed. So even once I finish this page here, I do need to move my Q-snap and do the section over here. It will, I'm sure, seem kind of daunting because that whole side's going to be blank, but I think it'll be a good idea to wait until then to move my Q-snap. I hate moving it back and forth, so I'm going to just do this part. This part was probably going to be March's portion that I'm doing. I would like to have all of this part done by the end of this month. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you so much for sharing with me your ideas and things that you think make things easier. I love to hear those. I also love to hear how you think yours is going. I am just so amazed on the Facebook page for the SAL. I see that some of you have completely finished the section that we've been given already, and it looks fantastic. I can't wait to get to that point. So it kind of urges me on. Rather than depressing me, it urges me on to get to that point. And I do appreciate seeing it. I loved your shares, and I love sharing with you. And I think that's all I have for today. Until next week, happy stitching.